I fought this battle because I care for people, even my disabled father. If she randomly picks which family members she will be kind to and which family members she will absolutely eviscerate with her word. Do you remember that mean older sister whose entire personality consisted of being a total bitch to Feyre? Yeah, so now that I'm printing money, I will pretend that I always land for Nesta to have this in-depth personality. She will also probably get down by Cass. Why would someone relate to Nesta? This is the question I've been asking myself after finishing this goddamn awful series, which is A Court of Thorns and Fairies and schlongs. But apparently, according to the myriad of data I've collected on the series, people not only like Nesta, but they relate to her. Arguments range from people defending Nesta, saying that people will never truly understand because they aren't an older sister, because they've never been traumatized, that Nesta is the real one and she was wrongly accused, and you need to be a certain type of person to understand this character completely. To people absolutely destroying her, saying that Nesta is an irredeemable and absolutely evil character that everyone hates. You know, I don't care if people defend her or not, but what made me stop eating my cereal and stop in my tracks was the ultimate disrespect. The reason why I turned my phone down in a state of absolute shock is when someone had the audacity to describe Nesta as a complex and nuanced character. Since I'm clearly mentally unwell and have too much time on my hands, I will clear up this whole confusion about what Nesta's character is, what she's actually like, and whether she's an actually complex and nuanced character. This video will break up Nesta's character from her writing, backstory, relatability, and what we can actually learn from this character. Let me preface this video by saying that I'm observing a very interesting phenomenon that I think should be studied by psychologists and behavioral scientists. This phenomenon is that no matter what Sarah J. Maas writes, the fandom will find a way to twist it and create theories, fan fiction, and just any sort of other material to compensate for the lack of the complexity within the source material, and then be impressed by the complexity of the said source material. Nesta isn't for all girls. Nesta is for the older sister whose parents didn't show up for her, the girl who doesn't trust others to protect her, who seems like she hates everyone, but hates herself the most. For the girl who can't stand being in her own head, who burns with anger, operates out of spite, but doesn't know any other way because she had to learn to be cold to survive. First of all, now I feel kind of bad speaking about this. Is that person crying? So in this post, we see the exact line, the girl who didn't trust others to protect her. Changed my mind, but this implies that Nesta is this cold, hyper-independent person that does not rely on anyone to protect her, right? Did we collectively forget about the events of the first book? You know, the time when Nesta was completely dependent on Feyre to, you know, provide the basic necessity of the food that she ate? If she is so hyper independent because she trusts no one to protect her, then what was she doing all that winter when Feyre was out hunting to provide food for the family? Well, according to the source material, Nesta was waiting for Feyre to come back home with whatever she hunted and then saying something ableist to their dad. Yeah, I mean, she completely sounds like someone who trusts no one to protect her. While I was scouring the source material for more evidence that this claim is inherently wrong and such a bad take, I remembered another scene from the first book, and I thought I'd do a little experiment. So I asked ChatGPT's completely unbiased opinion whether in this scene, if Nesta was being this cold, hyper-independent person that trusts no one to protect her. So let's read the passage, shall we? In Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses, there is a scene where Feyre and her sisters Nesta and Elaine visit a village market. During this outing, they encounter a mercenary huntress. In this interaction, Nesta steps back, allowing Feyre to engage directly with the huntress. This moment highlights Nesta's initial reluctance to interact with those she deems beneath her social standing, as well as Feyre's role as the family's provider and negotiator. I mean, guys, Nesta seems pretty dependent, if you ask me, if she can't even talk to people. But she changed, no? After A Court of Wings and Ruin, Nesta says that I fought this battle because I care for people, even my disabled father. But I can't trust anyone to protect me. And now I must go my own way, similarly, not dependent on anyone. Carving my own path with nothing but my fiery will. Sorry, I'm kidding. She did not say any of that. Instead, she opted to cultivating a gambling addiction. While completely scrounging off of Feyre and Rhys's money, Nesta proceeds to drink more than your alcoholic grandmother on a Thanksgiving Tuesday, while going on so many benders and orgies that you're sort of amazed how she still hasn't visited the Fairyland gynecologist with multiple Fairyland STDs and a bad UTI.
Just like a lot of readers, I relate to Nesta Archeron.
Another Nesta apologist post, great.
Is her inability to allow people into her life, as well as her belief that by showing emotion or letting people into your life, you're somehow weak. She like equals emotion as being weak, and believing that if someone sees you like that, then they will think that you're weak as well. And it's just like you have to always appear like nothing bothers you.
Never did I, in this entire series, read a scene with Nesta in it and thought to myself, damn, she was so detached and unbothered by what was happening. Are we perhaps forgetting that rage is also an emotion? Bear with me here. Another extremely bad take.
Nesta and Elaine Archeron are the perfect examples of how, if women respond to their trauma with anything other than quiet resignation, people are far less likely to show them any empathy or sympathy for what they've been through. Because at the end of the day, Nesta and Elaine have been through very similar traumatic experiences, and the only difference is the way that they have responded to them. Nesta by lashing out, and Elaine by withdrawing inward. And yet, people talk about Nesta as if she is unforgivable and irredeemable, and Elaine as if she is a victim, even though they are both victims. Nesta's trauma response is simply less palatable to you, because it's loud and angry and messy, and that's not to say that it's an excuse for the way she's treated people, but it is a reason.
This woman states that women responding to trauma that is different than the status quo is the reason why people don't like Nesta as a character, as if these characters were created to make a feminist critique on society. What are we talking about? These characters are very simple archetypes. Most of us have enough media literacy to understand what we read. A lot of people don't like Nesta because they actually do understand the character and still don't like her. It isn't because there are these deep layers to this character that you can only gouge if you read in between the lines and do all these mental acrobatics. I see a lot of other TikToks like this that imply that it's kind of your fault that you don't understand Nesta because you didn't read in between the lines. Doing all these mental gymnastics to prove that a character is deep and complex and nuanced feels a little silly goofy to me, especially because from the quality of the writing, I feel like most people can accurately tell that it really does not matter to the author. I mean, do you seriously mean to tell me that the author cared about Nesta's character arc in the 784 page, holy fuck, why is it so long, book was about Nesta's character arc and her growth, and it wasn't about anything else? It's not that deep, guys. I had no idea there was so much to talk about these characters, because to me, a lot of the characters in the whole ACOTAR series only seem to embody specific tropes rather than fully fleshed out characters. Like Feyre, for example, being the protagonist. She is an independent huntress and embodies the role of the underappreciated provider martyr. Elaine, the airheaded manic pixie dream girl, and Nesta, the mean older sister, who is cartoonishly cruel to her younger sister, but not the other one, just one specific younger sister for no reason. And throughout the series, I haven't read or learned anything more about these characters that made me think that there is more to them. There isn't any sort of subtext, nothing. But let us get to the depths of Nesta. And by depths, I mean the kind of that you would find at the shallow ends of a kid's swimming pool. We live in an era of morally great characters. We love characters that have flaws, even those who are so extreme in their ways that we keep asking ourselves, why do they behave in such a way? Even characters that are quote-unquote unlikable can be very interesting to read about or experience on screen. For example, most people enjoy watching Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. Not because he's a woman-killing psychopath, it is because he's intriguing in a way which is entertaining to watch. It is interesting to see how, while this person is a cold-blooded murderer, he tries to so meticulously fit into the Goldman & Sachs finance bro stockbroker lifestyle that is all about holding appearances, fitting into an overly and unnecessarily lavish lifestyle.
Because I want to fit in.
I gave these characters as examples of characters you might like, even though they might be unhinged or irredeemable. Just a certain aspect of a character, a unique quirk, the way they talk, and even their character design, something that they're wearing on a daily basis might make you like this character. Therefore, liking a character is highly subjective and personal. And just because a character acts in an insufferable way, it does not make them immediately more complex. I think for a character to be what you call complex and nuanced, we need to understand their motives or why they are acting the certain way that they do. And there must be some sort of inner conflict that is in direct opposition to the way that they are acting. And this does not mean that we need to know everything about them. We don't need a backstory necessarily to make a character more complex, but we do need some indication to what a character values or doesn't value. So finally, let's get to Nesta. What are her values? What does she stand for? What is the hill that she will die on? Can someone please tell me what they find so interesting about her? I've actually tried. I've looked at the source material, I've looked at all these posts, I've read Reddits upon subreddits about why I should find her interesting and still could not give a single flying fuck. The reasons I've gathered why people find this character interesting is because she has a kind of feisty and sassy aura, and because some people relate to her. But I can honestly say that after appearing in 4 books as a side character and having 1 book entirely dedicated to fleshing her out as a character, I still don't feel that Nesta has overcome the box of the trope that she was initially put into. From the beginning of ACOTAR Book 1, it seems clear to me that Nesta was never intended to have a multidimensional character. She was just a placeholder to embody this mean older sister archetype, for the reader to relate to Feyre and how much she was being abused by her older sister. But again, as Sarah J. Maas and her publisher realized that this series was quite literally printing money, they decided to milk everything out of this franchise, even if there wasn't anything to milk for. Hey guys, do you remember that mean older sister whose entire personality consisted of being a total bitch to Feyre? Yeah, so now that I'm printing money, I will pretend that I always land for Nesta to have this in-depth personality. She will also probably get beat down by Cassian. Sarah J. Maas, as a very successful author, has every right to say that. I'm not even kidding you guys. Even if Sarah J. Maas took a huge loaded dump inside her manuscript, like excrement all over the manuscript pages, the editor would look at those pages and be like, this is fine, and would send it off to the publisher. And let's say by some chance, by some mistake of a miracle, the shit stains were looked over by the publisher, and accidentally all these humongous copies of this new book was printed with shit stains all over the pages. Imagine opening up a book in Barnes and Noble and you see shit stains. And even then, I know that some person will come to TikTok with a theory about how Sarah J. Maas intended for these shit stains to appear on these book pages from book 1. Guys, have you noticed the shit stains on page 57? This was totally foreshadowed in the Court of Mist and Fury when Feyre was having explosive diarrhea. The main argument people use to excuse Nesta's insufferable and sometimes irredeemable actions is because Nesta's traumatized. Nesta is known to be closest to their mother within all the Archeron sisters before she passed away. But tell me this, why did then their mother go to Feyre to look after the family instead of Nesta? I guess the mother knew that Nesta wasn't gonna do shit. But let's actually take this seriously. Yeah, I can't believe we're doing this, but let's actually take this seriously and look at this from a literary analysis point of view. Everyone has a different reaction to loss. So maybe the loss of her mother and the loss of her father's fortune did affect Nesta in a unique way that made her so bitter that she closed off entire parts of herself to everyone in the family. So my question would be, if this were the case, why is she singling out Feyre? Her sharp tongue and her snide remarks do not seem to extend to Elaine. For Elaine, Nesta seems to really go above and beyond, and can even be described as overprotective of her. So why does Nesta single out Feyre, the youngest sister in the family, to force her to provide for their entire family? Is it jealousy? Is it because Nesta knew that their mother favored Feyre over her? Is it projection? The reason why Nesta singles Feyre out is never explained or even hinted at. Oh, wait, I know. Is it maybe because Feyre was the protagonist and she didn't even have similarly in-depth character that would make us relate to her, so instead the author had to put in a save the cat or crush the dog kind of scene where we see a villain be outrageously cruel to the protagonist so we immediately relate to them. It is so easy to have one heroic provider sister, one kind of dumb airhead sister, and one mean sister, instead of actually building these people up as fully fleshed out human beings. That's what I call peak writing, peak characterization. It is the very lack of explanation to why Nesta acts in this very bizarrely cruel way that the fandom is forced to come up with an explanation. And yet again, Sarah J. Maas is saved from this blundering inconsistency and laziness in her own books by the explanation provided and made up by the fans. So she will be saved from doing her actual job, giving a character actual character to make us understand where she's coming from. After scouring the internet to find a reason why Nesta singles out Feyre to be mean, I have found this one post. Nesta knows that she isn't doing enough for Feyre and is doing too much for Elaine, so she doesn't know what to do. I guess Nesta only has enough kindness to spare for one person. But it's okay, guys. She knows that she isn't doing enough, so she will completely eviscerate the rest of the family because she's so sad that she is not doing enough for these other people. So she will be a complete asshole to them because in reality she wants to be kind to them. Even with the bad writing and inconsistent character building, I still do not like this character with the little we've been given. And I will explain the reason why I'm actually pretty concerned when I hear anyone relating to her. We've all been there. We've self-sabotaged and been shitty to people we love at some point in our lives, and we pushed people away. If you haven't, congrats. That means you have a secure attachment style and healthy coping mechanisms. Most people, everyone, can relate to being shitty at some point in their life. But that doesn't mean people can relate to being shitty all the time. Realistically, if people have been insufferable assholes, after a while, people around them, including their family and friends, will either put some sort of distance or boundary or just cut out contact with that person, forcing them to reflect, learn from their mistakes, and hopefully allowing them the time to come back to apologize and make amends. Nesta does not suffer from any sort of repercussion for her shitty, insufferable behavior, and her family still sticks around supporting her, not only financially, but also emotionally. I've actually made a little checklist, things about Nesta that inform me if she was a real person, I would just avoid her like the plague. She's one of those people who is unable to admit she was wrong and unable to apologize, even when she knows inside that she was wrong. While knowing she is wrong, she will carry herself with this excessive pride and sass. She has no humility whatsoever and will not be grateful to people who help her get through the things she's going through. In fact, she will even be shittier to the people who try to help her, like Amryn and Cassian. And finally, she victimizes herself like it's an Olympic sport. These are the types of people I'd like to call, in my sophisticated jargon, professional victims. Actually, I didn't make this list myself. Actually, these are just the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder. First of all, where is all this pride coming from? Nesta acts like she's some sort of royalty when she has the personality equivalent of a bedbug, just sucking the life and blood out of every room while she's there. But wait a minute. Actually having excessive pride can tell us a lot about that person's values. And this should give us some insight into Nesta's character, right? Again, what are her values? What is the rock that she will die on? What is the line she will or she wouldn't cross? What is she defending with all that pride? I feel like the sass and the pride is not there because she's actually passionate about defending a certain kind of stance or value, but to just distinguish her from other Archeron sisters, because if she did not speak the way that she spoke, I honestly would not be able to tell her apart from Elaine. She's like this bizarre, empty shell of a character that just speaks in a very feisty manner, thus giving her this illusion or impression of complexity, which at the end feels kind of pointless. Even within the story, multiple characters point out that Nesta behaves like she has a stick up her ass for no reason, leading us to think that there is a reason, and it will be explained, right? right? And it is sort of explained, I guess. It is explained that she carries a lot of anger from her past and was consequently blowing up to random people. But I don't think this necessarily makes sense within the writing. Why is she still so angry to Feyre when she has her every need cared for? At the end of A Court of Wings and Ruin, Nesta is just enjoying her freedom while she's financially sucking up all of Feyre and Rhys's money, spending it in taverns and gambling. She never says thank you to Feyre or Rhysand for providing and financing her entire life, basically, but also giving Elaine a home. She is acting this way while being completely dependent on them. But she's traumatized. She's just been out of a war. She saw her father die. That is such a random plot point to garner sympathy for this character. Why would Nesta, in all seriousness, give a single flying fuck about her dad? Explain to me why she would. For someone who's always been mean to Feyre and shows no concern about her risking her life every day, care for her father. If she randomly picks which family members she will be kind to and which family members she will absolutely eviscerate with her words and actions, like, why would the father be spared? The father, up until that point in the story, is pretty much ignored and even scolded by Nesta for having a disability and having no financial means to provide for her lavish tastes. So why would Nesta really suddenly decide caring about her dad? Oh wait, I have an idea. Maybe it's because Sarah J. Maas got another massive book deal for a Nesta spin-off series, and that's why Nesta suddenly needs to develop empathy. Because the foundations of this character are based on an archetype. She is a cartoon of a character that acts outrageously for no apparent reason. The personality that Sarah J. Maas tries to add onto this character feels exactly like that. Like a personality is forcibly being injected into this character rather than a character learning and having a character arc. The character she has in A Court of Silver Flame is not consistent with the character she had before, not because she grew as a character, it was because she didn't really have much of a foundation to begin with. Throughout A Court of Silver Flames, Sarah J. Maas attempts to give an explanation as to why Nesta self-sabotages, why she acts the way that she does, and that due to her behavior she's actually hurting herself in this process, and that she actually feels guilty about the things that she's doing. Okay, she feels guilty? She feels guilty about the fact that she did not protect Feyre when she could have, and she feels guilty that their dad died. Okay. Does Nesta ever apologize to Feyre for how she's been to her? How unnecessarily mean and evil she's been? After all the supposed character development that Nesta goes through in A Court of Silver Flames, she does not once apologize to Feyre. She actually never apologized. What? Why am I making a video about this? Why is the Quora forum about whether she should apologize? Why is this an argument? Do some of you actually think that it's okay for her to not apologize? Isn't it the whole point of A Court of Silver Flames to show the humanity of Nesta? What is the point of this book if we don't actually see her admit to the fact that she fucked up? You know what? This lack of an action does actually say something about Nesta. Owning up to your mistakes, admitting it to people you've wronged, actually takes massive courage. It takes self-reflection, time, maturity. The fact that Nesta knows that she was wrong but still refuses to bridge the gap between herself and Feyre and Amren tells me a lot. It tells me that instead of mending her broken relationship with Feyre or Amren, she will completely disregard them and instead just make new friends with the Valkyries. And she will be kinder to the people she literally just met than her actual sister. The fact that she refuses to apologize tells me that Nesta is a coward. We finally got a value. We finally got something that Nesta cares about. This is the hill she will die on. She will die protecting the people of the outer wall. She cares about the well-being of humanity, while she hasn't even bothered to help her own family. Oh yeah, I know I've never lifted a single finger to take care of my physically disabled dad and my sister who sacrificed her safety to hunt food for our family every day, but At the same time, I would be totally willing to give my life for all these random people who I've always deemed below me and whom I've never met. Also, this has nothing to do with humanity. Really, I'm doing this for myself as I'm the one who does not want to be remembered as a coward. So I essentially care more about my own reputation than other people's well-being. And technically, isn't living in a luxurious home with pretty clothes all she's ever wanted? That was Nesta in the first book. Being angry about their father not being able to provide her things that she wanted. But now she's suddenly grown out of that, materialistic mindset and does not want that. That was totally shown in the writing. As I said, peak writing. Has she ever acknowledged that she's grateful for living in this beautiful home in Velaris where Feyre and Rhys are paying for her every need and expense? Has Nesta ever used the last war that they fought in and where their father died as an opportunity to forge this broken bond in between sisters and for them to start a new life where they stick by each other? But no, she's actually very selective about who she has empathy for. All she does is just victimize herself in every situation that she finds herself in. Her being turned into Fae affected her more. And again, guys, why are people traumatized by this? I just don't understand. Explain to me why she has to cry about being immortal, not having to know any sort of bodily disease or harm that comes with aging, being ethereally beautiful, potentially forever, living in a dream-like luxurious home where all your expenses are paid for and all your needs are cared for, while you live within a supportive group of family members and friends. Like, really? Damn, I wish I could have her trauma.
The girls that get it, and the girls that don't.
What is there to get? Do you want me to admit that it is alright to be an insufferable and shitty person and try to justify the damage that you've caused because you were traumatized? Do you want me to get that it is okay to not own up to your mistakes, to reflect upon your shortcomings, to take a step back and ruminate on what you've done, to later come back and apologize to the people you've hurt and to make amends? Do you want me to get it that it is okay to constantly victimize yourself and completely disregard the thoughts and feelings of others and only think about yourself and what you can get out of a situation? Sounds like a condition that we all know, but I can't recall it at this moment. If we think about all these qualities put together, I can say that I actually do know people like Nesta in real life. Yeah, you could say I know some Nestas, or more correctly, I knew some Nestas. The more people close to them try to help these people, I've noticed, the more these people, the Nestas, try to push them away. So in reality, these people either end up switching in between friend groups or circles, or end up at the end being completely alone. Because, as I've said, these people are professional victims and nothing they do is ever wrong. So they will selectively handpick people that validate this narrative that they were the one that was wrong and that the entire world was against them. And these people, you will see them crossing your boundaries, and when you try to set up a boundary, they will accuse you of not understanding them because you don't know what they've been through. These people will even push these new friends or people they've recruited into their circle after these people stop validating their egos. And you mean to tell me you relate to this sort of person? No matter how many Nesta Archeron appreciation posts you put on TikTok about how Nesta was a misunderstood character and how no one understands her, it's not gonna fix what's happening deep down. I'm not exactly sure what to do with my feelings, with the visceral hatred that I have for this character. I need to go above and beyond.
It's even harder to remember